Did you see, obviously you saw all the news on the KZN floods and stuff. It's so freaking heartbreaking. The earth just like split in two, it looks like. Some of those landslides just
crazy.
The infrastructure is just gone to...
Yeah, that's what really frustrated me. Because when I was watching Al Jazeera, then that came up. And then, the lady from South Africa was like talking to them and saying, the infrastructure is so badly damaged, it's going to take a while. Like the government's saying, it's going to take a while to fix. And I'm like, look how long it takes them to do other things.
A pothole.
How long are those people going to be stranded? Yeah.
Like, how long does that take?
So...
And it's always the people in the poorest communities that are going to be affected the hardest, because they don't have any relief. They don't have any assistance, because we don't offer any assistance. I was thinking, we don't have like a allocated place that you can go to when there's a disaster or... I don't know. There's no provision for things like that, and there's no provision. Yeah. Oh, I just cracked my ankle. Sorry.
Oh, is that what that was? Oh,
that's so nice. But as I was saying, there's no provision for when it's happening and for the aftermath when it happens. So I'm gonna link some charities that you can donate to, if you have the funds available and if you want to just spread the awareness. Like we did with Ukraine.
Yeah, because these are our fellow citizens, it's our own people. And the fact that, like, they're without water, they're without resources, like, people losing their whole families, it's terrible.
Everything in your house, everything that you own is just gone in an instant.
Yeah, and when you don't have much to begin with, that's even worse.
Exactly.
Because how hard did you have to work to get that? Yeah, and I saw, like, in that report, the roads are so damaged they can't even get the aid trucks in, so people are, like, looting the food trucks because they need food, they need resources, and it's just not getting to them. So it's just, what do you even do in that situation? Yeah.
So I just wanted to start with that, not before I forget, but, to kind of just, nothing I say can make it right, but my heart goes out to everyone that's going through this, and... If you can donate, then I will link some places that you can donate to.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, I'm so annoyed that someone's, like, using my number plates, like, my plates.
Yeah, like, how?
My mum said I should contact the car dealer because maybe they made a mistake because they got my plates for me. So maybe they made a mistake and gave someone else the plates. But now this person's getting freaking fines on my name.
No, but you can't. I emailed. Surely they'll be able to see it's not you.
Mm-hmm.
And your car.
I emailed and I sent all the fines and all the pictures of that car, and then I took a photo of my car and I sent in this is my car. There you can see my number plate. I have not been driving there. That's someone else. So I'm like, I'm not paying that.
No, of course not. That's not your responsibility. I just hope it's not someone who's like done this on purpose, you know what I mean? Who's committing a crime.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope you're not a victim of true crime.
Oh my word, if I get stopped at a roadblock and they arrest me because of outstanding fines, I'm phoning you. Anyway, welcome to Law and Omen.
Oh, fuck, I forgot that again. And I was like, I'm going to say something. We need to go on another different tangent and just not introduce ourselves again. Yes, I am Chanelle.
Yeah, I'm Kristin. I don't know why I'm waving, like you can see me.
I can see you, so that's all that matters. Like you said, Law and Omen, a true crime and paranormal podcast.
Yeah, we discuss all the weird and the sad and the stuff that makes us mad. I don't know, I'm a terrible poet.
Okay, Dr. Seuss. Oh, okay. Terrible poet, not Dr. Seuss then.
Remember when we used to record like the beginning of the week? Thinking ourselves like a whole week to edit. Those are such good days.
How did we get here?
I think it started when you moved.
Yes.
Because then we had like
only started recording again. We only started recording after I moved again.
Oh, that's true. I'm still blaming you.
That's fine. I'll carry the blame. I'll make my back strong, or my legs and my back stronger.
Look, you're the only one between us who can lift, okay? So it's your job. I can lift donuts to my face, and that's about it.
Those are the best lifts to do, though.
Yeah. Technically, I'm still using my muscles.
Especially your jaw muscles, yes. Very important. Chisel the face.
Yeah, so I can talk smack. Oh, man. I'm like halfway down my wine of glass already. Wine of glass? Glass of wine.
I was about to say wine of glass. I didn't know. Hello? Oh, for fuck's sakes. Hello?
Oh, wow, that lag was forever.
Ooh.
Jeez, that lag was forever.
That was bad.
See, I speak nonsense, and then that's what happens.
Sorry for this horrible segue, but the disclaimer is the following stories contain graphic content that might not be suitable for everyone. The sources I use to find the information will be listed below, and everything I say is my own opinion unless it is stated as fact. And obviously I mean no disrespect towards anyone I speak about. So today is a little bit of a different case. The case is about a possible serial killer who terrorized women of KwaZulu-Natal, and they're still unidentified.
Oh, that's scary.
As usual, I want to dedicate the covering of the case to the victims, and we'll name the case after them, obviously. I have to say that a lot of the victims weren't identified, so these aren't the only victims, but these are the only victims who could be identified. And their names were Nomusa Dlomo, Pretty Shelembe, Adrina Mbokaziof. Yeah, so something I found very interesting on Reddit while I was researching this case, which is something I never thought I'd say.
Did you use our Reddit?
Oh no.
Did you use our Reddit account?
No, this is literally just a source that I clicked on and it took me to Reddit.
I still don't know how to use it.
I've never really been on Reddit. That's why I said I'm never going to use it. Okay. Guess we should
know what to do with it.
I've never been on like Twitter or things like. I don't understand Twitter either. No, not really. Don't get it.
I think I made us a lawn omen Twitter the other day with plans to post, and I just haven't yet.
User King Crazy 188.
All right.
I hate that. I'm not saying this is a credible source or anything like that. I just want to say, like, it's just something I read that made a little bit of sense. Mm-hmm. During the political unrest in South Africa, a spike of serial killing had occurred, which the same could be said of Germany in the 20s, and the US in the 70s, and Russia during the fall of the Soviet Union. Some of these South African killers, just to convey the spike of murder in South Africa at the time, is Norman Afzal Simons, known as the Station Strangler. He was a rapist and a serial killer who killed 22 boys between 9 and 13 from 1986 to 1994. Next one is Moses Sithole. I'm going to cover all of these eventually, like literally all 4 of these that I'm going to mention is on my list to cover. Moses Sithole, known as the ABC Strangler, killing between 1994 to 1995. He had 38 victims and he was captured in 1995.
In that short time. Oh.
Right? Johannes Mashiani, I think. Better known as the Beast of Atteridgeville. He killed 13 victims between 1982 to 1989 before he committed suicide. Christopher Zikonde, known as the Donnybrook Killer, a violent psychopath who killed 22 men and women between 1992 and 1995.
Sure, that's a lot.
And there were others as well, but this is apparently the only one that kind of slipped between the cracks.
Yeah.
It's important to point out that the government was obviously very preoccupied with the civil unrest that was also happening during these times, and perhaps weren't as committed to solving certain crimes. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that now. our crime is still out of control today, especially against women and children. And I think there's still people who are corrupt. And I think that adding the civil unrest kind of just makes for a lot of strain on the good cops. And I think today you almost say the same thing. There's a lot of strain on the good cops because of the individual corruption that we still have today, you know. But now we don't have as much civil unrest as we did between those years. I think we have a really good police force. We have really good investigators, but I still think we have people who are incredibly corrupt and who only look out and care for themselves and will do basically anything to better their own lives, even if that involves trampling on people on the way to the bigger and better place that they want to go to. I don't know.
Yeah. There's too many criminals, like, even in the police force and, like, in parliament and in the places that should be helping people. There's just, like, criminals everywhere. So it's too many. It's, like, majority at this point.
Yeah. So this all starts back in the late 90s in Pietermaritzburg, KwaZulu-Natal. And women were being found on the N3 highway. Trigger warning. They had been strangled with their own underwear and they had been raped. In a total, so it was quite difficult to understand what the span was. There were 13 victims in total the first time around. They were also all reported to be sex workers. So we know that, and like I said previously, how inclined or how motivated are police going to be to solve sex workers' murders, you know, because sex work was then and still is very much illegal in South Africa. So a lot of times, and I'm not saying it's the case with every police officer or every investigation, but a lot of times those investigations are deemed less important, or I think get allocated less resources, or I don't know. I just think they kind of get swept under the rug because a lot of them are left unidentified or found very late, you know, found months after they'd been murdered and had never been reported missing because of, you know, the lifestyle that they live. And they most likely only turn to sex work to provide for their families, you know. And even if that's not the case, it's everyone's own decision what to do with their bodies, and I just feel like there should be, I don't know, at least some protection because there's still, I don't know, it's not going to go away, so rather make it safer than continuing to outlaw it and not tackling the actual problem, which is most likely poverty and people not being able to get a job to help their families and other traumas that lead to drug abuse. Yeah. You know, like there's a lot more to tackle than, she's a sex worker, she chose this life. I hate that.
Yeah,
and
it's the oldest profession.
And even if she did she not deserve justice? Exactly, it's never going to go away.
Yeah. At the end of the day, she's still a human being with family. Even if she doesn't have family, she's still a human being. Exactly. She's a person who deserves the same amount of justice as everyone else. Whether you're a lawyer or a sex worker, like, you're still a human being and deserve basic respect.
Exactly.
Like, you don't know why someone is in the position they are.
It's difficult to say exactly when these murders spanned from. As I'm going to say now, the discovery of Nomusa Dlomo's body at Mkondeni on New Year's Day in 1998 is the first death that attracted the attention of serial killer detectives. Then they began to unearth numerous similar cases or similar crimes, and a pattern emerged. So how far back those crimes that had already been committed spanned, I'm not sure, and how far into the new millennia the crimes went, I also don't know. Pretty Shelembe was found in May 1998 near Umkumas River in Boston in KwaZulu-Natal. And also in 1998 in June at Howick, they found Adrina Mbokaziof. In 2001, police exhumed the bodies of 7 victims from paupers' graves in Mountain Rise in Mpopomeni. So this was in a bid to reconstruct their facial features in order for them to be identified. So that's what I'm saying, like 2001, they exhumed bodies of 7 victims, and all of them were buried in paupers' graves because none of them were identified, obviously. So no one reported the crimes. They couldn't give them a proper funeral, proper send-off, so they were just, so I don't know when those were probably some of the previous women that were murdered before the initial discovery in 1998, when the serial killer detectives kind of thought that maybe a serial killer is involved. So maybe that happened before then. I'm not sure. So their faces were reconstructed from the skulls in a bid to identify them, but no photographs have ever been released to the media for publication. So whether they couldn't reconstruct their facial features, or if they did and just never released them, or nothing ever came to light. So in the same year, the case would be closed, or it went cold, because as Director Johan Boysen, head of KwaZulu-Natal's Organised Crime Unit, said in a News 24 article, quote, "I cannot say whether or not that investigation was in fact closed or not. It is so that sometimes investigations reach a dead end. But if new leads come to light, we will continue again." But I think I have said this before, we don't have a cold case unit, so cases kind of just pile up and they get investigated if new evidence comes to light, but a lot of times they just go unsolved.
Yeah, it's just so sad.
In the same article, the reporter was told that there was a lack of support and resources like transport that led to major stumbling blocks faced by the Sleepy Hollow investigators at the time. From the article, quote, "Team members were allegedly not allowed to focus their efforts on the serial killer, but were expected to also carry on their normal duties during the investigation. As the team dwindled for reasons that included resignations and the death of a member in a car crash, management clamped down and resources dried up." Then seemingly nothing happened with these cases for years, and bodies were piling up, but no progress was being made. In 2007, between February and October, 3 more bodies were found near the N3 highway vicinity. They found the first victim behind the ML Sultan High School in Pietermaritzburg. The second victim was found near Liberty Midlands Mall in June, and the last victim was found in October between Hilton and Peter Brown Drive. So I googled all 3 of these places, and they are very close. All 3 of those places are very close to the M3 highway. All 3, I think, were found pretty publicly. You know, I mean, it's close to a national highway, so what do you expect? And I think the media kind of picked up on this then, because I didn't find any articles or things covering the original happenings, like back in 2001 or in 1998 or whatever. There were no articles. The first article I got was written in 2008 only.
Jeez, that is so long.
Yeah. But there were also allegations that there were victims found as far as Bloemfontein and Gqeberha, bearing the same MO, because obviously now that the media has gotten a hold of it and it's, you know, being talked about more publicly and nationally, people are connecting the dots. But what made these scenes, the scenes from the 3 bodies found that I just spoke of and 13 others, so what made these scenes different from the original 13 that were found is that the 3 victims' bodies were found burnt beyond recognition. But the thing that they had in common was the fact that they were found, once again, strangled with their own underwear. News 24 also spoke to a former investigator who specialized in serial killers, and he said that serial killers have been known to change their modus operandi at times to adapt to whatever circumstances they were in. And the example mentioned was that the media coverage from the previous victims might have made him decide to burn the victims so that they couldn't be identified. And also, I would imagine, burning away evidence like DNA. The former investigator also went on to say that, quote, serial killers are usually highly intelligent and they read newspapers. We knew he would not stop. A serial killer never stops killing. A top psychologist from the SAPS Investigative Psychology Unit in Pretoria visited Pietermaritzburg in November 2007 to assess if a serial murderer is at work. And quote-unquote, certain recommendations were made to provincial police authorities. The expert found that it was likely that a serial killer was at work and recommended that a dedicated task team be established to investigate the latest killings. In January 2008, it was reported that a task team of 6 experienced detectives would be established to investigate the series of rapes and murders because of the similarities it bore to the Sleepy Hollow serial killer. Police spokesperson Superintendent Henry Butterum said, quote, the task team has been put in place considering the similarities in the recent cases reported to the police. The investigation will consider all the evidence thus far and the modus operandi with a view to establish whether these killings were the work of a serial killer. The task team will also investigate previous cases where allegations of serial killings were alleged, he said. At the end of January 2008, police arrested a 32-year-old man who allegedly murdered a 30-year-old woman who was found by a passerby in a forest near Howick, near the small settlement of Curry's Post. This would be about 30 minutes away from Pietermaritzburg. The victim was found with her legs and hands tied with a belt, and she had open wounds on her head. She was partially naked, which greatly indicated rape. Although Superintendent Henry Butterum did not believe he was responsible for the other murders. He was supposedly an ex or current lover who murdered his partner. And that's it. 16 women murdered, and 14 years later, and there's literally been nothing to show.
Sure.
And the weird
thing,
lot
of women.
Mm-hmm. And the weird thing is, so remember I said, like, in the same article, the reporter was told that there was a lack of support and resources and stuff like that. So it wasn't 100% clear if this was in reference to the task force that was created after the fact, like that I just spoke of, or if this was referring to the initial investigation. Because the article that I read that stated all of this, they were still saying that there was a task force that was going to be created. And then in another article, I read how the task force would be created with 6 people and wada. And then from there, from the time I read that there would be a dedicated task force, there's literally been no reportings since then. Ugh. So if there was a task force, when was this task force created? Was it then only created in 2008? And if it was created, what the hell happened to it? Why has nothing come out in 14 years? 14 years is a bloody long time.
It's a very long time. And with every year you lose so much evidence, so many people you could talk to. We need a cold case unit.
And I have to also mention, I forgot to mention, that I don't know what all the races were of all 13 women, although the 3 women that were later found were all known to be black women. So another thing that could count against you is your race when police are investigating a case, you know.
I was thinking that earlier.
Now it's not only sex workers, and it's like, I'm not saying there aren't sex workers of different races or whatever, but if you go with this is the only other way to make money or only other way to fend for myself or for my family, then most likely it would be a woman of color, you know, because they are the people discriminated most against, you know. They have less chance of getting a job and or getting, you know, getting a job that gives them enough money to look after their children or their families or whoever.
When you drive like around here where we live, the only sex workers I've seen on corners around here are coloured women. So it's women of colour. It is quite sad that it's demographically separated like that.
Yeah. So that's the case.
I mean, that being said, sorry, like there's a lot of white women that I know of or have seen that are sex workers, but they are doing it online. They're not on the street corner kind of sex worker, but it's still sex work. Yeah. So I think it's also weird how in like this day and age, like you're still a sex worker, but it depends on like, are you doing it digitally or are you like physically going out into the street?
Like an online OnlyFans situation or a cam girl or I don't know.
That was a terrible story, Chanelle. Thank you so much for loving me up.
It's so frustrating.
Victims. Oh, I hope that one day he gets caught. Just like that other serial killer from America, that old dude who was just recently caught.
Oh, Golden State Killer?
Yeah. I hope, like, even if you're 80 years old and you get caught, as long as you finally get caught.
As long as you finally get reprimanded for what you've done.
Yeah, that the families somehow get some sort of closure. You know.
I want to tell Patrick to buy speckled eggs, sorry.
I'm going to get more wine and then I'll prep for my story. Okay, so I actually want to send you a picture before we start, so you can see what we are talking about.
Oh no!
Because this, like, maybe I actually searched this a bit earlier, and the only sources I could find was the YouTube channel that covered this. So
okay, so what did? Oh no! Oh why? No, I don't like that. I like that script.
Okay, so it's one channel on YouTube. They are my favorite ghost hunting channel on YouTube. I watch them most often. It's Paranormal Quest.
Okay.
They are American and they go around the country and visit these paranormal places. I mean, sometimes they're like, oh, well, our one teammate was going to join us, but he has to work, so he can't make it. And it's like so real, you know, because it's like, this is not their full-time job, you know, this is just something they're passionate about. And like I watched an episode earlier today and they investigated this supposedly really haunted place and there was like almost nothing that happened. But I love that because it's like, it feels like they're more serious about it and it's like real. They're not fabricating stuff. So this doll that I sent you, her name is Hope. She is apparently a demonic doll, but we don't know for sure because she wouldn't give a straight answer. So
I can tell you right now she is.
So I want to say that the main investigator guy, his name is Ryan, and then the other sort of main guy is Steve Hummel. And Steve owns a museum called Archive of the Afterlife, where he like has almost like Zach Bagans' museum, where he's collected artifacts. He's got all these weird haunted items. Like friends will call him up and say, "Hey, I've got this item for you. I don't want it," you know, like that kind of thing. So he's got this really cool. It's like a 2-story building. There's like an old house that's now this museum. So one of these haunted items he has is Hope. Steve acquired this doll from a woman named Judy. Steve received this doll around 2020, so it's very recent.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, like, I searched it earlier, like, I did a Google search, and when you look for, like, Haunted Hope, the doll Hope or whatever, the only thing that I found was Paranormal Quest and their channel, so...
But it does look like a 90s, like one of those 90s dolls that you'd get. Yeah, she does look quite new. It doesn't look like an old... doll. Yeah. So Judy buys and sells antiques, and she was at a house. She was looking for antiques, and the owner told her that, well, you can go into the basement to look for items too, because there's stuff down there. So Judy went into the basement. She went past the door. She doesn't know if it was a draft
if the homeowner did it or whatever, but the door shut behind her and it locked. So she's trapped in this basement.
Oh,
and yeah. So she's in this basement. She's freaking out. She's like, okay, I'm stuck in here. Did this guy like lock me in here? Like, my partner is outside. Like, I hope they're going to come and get me out. But as she was in there, she saw a doll in the corner of the basement. It was lying down, face down in the dirt, and it was all alone in a corner. And she felt very uncomfortable. So eventually they found a way to get her out of the basement, and she asked the owner about the doll in the corner, and he's like, you can have it, take it. Again, another red flag.
It's just fucking leave it.
So that same day, she contacted Steve Hummel, and she says, hey, I've got a doll for you. I don't want it in my house. I don't want it in my car. I'm bringing it to you. You need to take it from me. So he's like, okay, cool.
But how's she bringing it to him if she doesn't want it in a car?
I think she means extended, like overnight kind of thing. I don't know. Okay. I mean,
I was just picturing it.
I
was just picturing her like tying it to the back of the exhaust or something.
Like a surfboard? Oh, I thought like to the roof.
Not like a surfboard.
Like a mattress.
Don't even touch my car.
Oh my word. Okay, yes. So when Steve, he said that when he first got this doll, she was wrapped in a plastic black garbage bag, and without even seeing this doll, he had this like feeling of dread. Oh, also, Steve is ordained, just much like M from That's How We Drink.
Oh my god.
So he can do his own, like he says he does his own blessings and his own whatever because he is ordained. He typically has the authority within the church to do it because he's an ordained minister. There is a quote from Steve. You constantly feel like you're being watched. It's probably one of the most negatively charged, in my opinion, one of the more demonically charged items in the collection. So during this point, as he's saying this, while he's talking about his experience, there's an audio interference. It sounds like alien, like,
oh.
And then the mic cuts out completely. His mic just stops working. So they're trying to figure this out. So then they switch to Vicky, Steve's assistant at the museum. So Vicky finished sort of the story, and she said they were waiting for people to arrive for a private investigation, and she kept walking into the room to check out the window if these people arrived, and everything was fine. And when they were done and they were going to leave, it was about 3 a.m., Vicky went to turn the lights off, and she saw that Hope was flipped from her position. No. So she's usually in a case. She's like, it's got a glass front, and it's just like this case. And you can see they show it in the video, in the episode, she's kind of lying down, like she fell over, but her legs apparently were like open, because usually the legs are kept like tight together so she can stand up straight. Yeah. So she didn't just fall over, her legs moved.
I don't know that.
As well.
No.
Yeah.
That is when you put that in not in a fire, because then you release the things. You go and fucking
just drown it.
Yeah, drown it, yes. Put it in a lead fucking case and just drop it in the ocean. Or no, is lead bad for the ocean? Put it in concrete. I don't know, I think
you can...
And then put holes in the concrete so that coral can grow on the concrete. But will the coral be demonic then?
My sushi is demonic. Kidding. What's happened?
I'm just kidding. Imagine. No,
that's so funny.
Kidding, but yeah, put it in some.
That's a good idea, though. Yeah.
Yeah, concrete. Some some of that special things that you put on to attract coral to go and live there, and dump it in the ocean.
Yeah. Well, apparently one way to get rid of a demon is to drown it, so that's a good idea. Put it in concrete, drill holes, toss it in, mafia style, and let it go to swim with the fishes, literally. So as they're trying to interview Steve and get the audio working again, it's just not working. Like, whatever they're doing, it's just not working. So Steve says he feels chills, and then they hear what appears to be a child's voice. They can't make out what it says, but this happens as he's talking about Hope. Like, they're not doing EVPs or anything. This is in the camera recording. Like, you hear this child's voice. So you don't know what it's saying, but you hear it. And about that time when she found the doll moved, Vicky says that she called Steve and he went to put her upright again, and Vicky felt scared and uneasy. Like, she didn't even want to look at the doll. And she said, like, she works there. She's working at technically a haunted place, and if you give them that, if you show them you're scared, you kind of give them that avenue to open the door, yes. So she says she's not typically scared, she works there, she works with Steve, it's fine. But with this item, she just felt super uneasy.
Oh.
Yeah. And then Steve said that this incident where Hope fell over or moved, whatever, it's where all the activity really started. Steve recounts a time that they were taking Hope out of her little cubby, her little box, and they heard a voice that sounded almost like a little girl giggling. But then after that, Steve heard a sort of a growl right behind him. He said it was like behind his head. So like a kind of...
Oh, that was so scary. Don't do that.
Oh, thank you. And he said at one point 2 people were investigating with him, and at that time they caught an EVP. So the one said, "Hail Satan," and the other one said, because Stephen said like he wasn't going to say like the whole thing out loud. So what he said was, "Jesus can't beep it." So something like that. I don't know what he beeped out. I don't know. It's a weird, I don't know, but you're going to say "Hail Satan" and then something about Jesus can't do something.
The first letter there, at least.
They're trying to not be an offensive YouTube channel, right? So then, this investigation finally starts after the interviews, and they're doing a spirit box session where Dave is listening to the spirit box through headphones. So they usually have it where one person is listening into the spirit box and then will say out loud any responses they get. So then the other people, the other investigators are asking the questions and whatever, and then he will basically give them the answers as they come through. So they walk into this room, like they take a few steps into the room, and Dave is listening to the spirit box, hears a male voice saying Hope, which is the name of the doll. And they walk into the room where she is, and then something says her name. So then they take Hope out of her case and they sit her down on a chair.
Why?
And I mean, in the picture, that's why I wanted to show you, like, she's quite a big doll. She's one of those child-sized dolls.
No,
and Dave hears, yes, sort of like Robert and the other one, Peggy.
Too big.
Yeah. So Dave hears a voice saying, "Steve." And then the voice says, "Hold on." And Steve asks if her name is Hope. And all they get is a sort of a laugh coming through the voice box.
Oh, it's time to put it back in the box. And at one point,
at one point, you can see in their infrared cameras the doll moving.
No,
like you can see they have.
No.
You can. Like I will send you the clip. Like there's only there's only like 3 of them, I think, in the room, and I think each one has a camera, so you can, like, they're all watching each other, kind of, There's nothing around this doll, and it's such a slight move. It's just like a shift by like a millimeter and back kind of thing, and so you can see it in the camera. That movement was followed by a female childlike voice giggling through the spirit box, and then a voice comes through again and says, "Move over." And then the voice in the spirit box says, "How you doing?"
Okay, Joey.
And then it says the name Steve again. And then a voice comes through and says, "Don't move her." So that's like quite a few like phrases coming through, like after eeach other. And then Steve asks, "Do you like being in your case?" And the spirit box responds with, "Where am I?"
Oh no.
"Where am I?" Dave then says he doesn't know why. This is a quote. "I don't know why, but I'm getting a vision of being buried alive or confined in some way." So as he was like being around the doll, he's like, none of them are like psychics or whatever, but doing this for so long, they have developed, some sort of sensitivity. And he's like, he just feels like something about being buried, something, So they asked for the spirit to make a noise wherever it is in the house. And they heard a knock sound just outside the room. So one of the investigators says, "What was that?" And the same voice that spoke when they first walked in the door, he said Hope again. So just like when they first walked in, it said Hope. So he's like, "What was that made that noise?" It was Hope.
It's Hope.
No,
I don't like
So then... Oh, and I didn't say, like, this is 2 episodes. So the first bit is the first episode where they first did an investigation, and then the second one is where they went back and did another investigation. So then a voice from the voice box says, "I'm going to." And then one says that the noise sounded far away. One of the investigators says that noise they heard earlier was like sounded like it was from far away. Can the spirit come closer to them? And a voice responds, yeah. Then a voice says, quote, we know it. And then the investigators ask, who's we? And the voice box
Everyone
responds...
was there, bro. Didn't you hear all
the voice box responds...
Sorry.
It says, you won't like her.
Never mind. Oh my gosh. And you took her out of her fucking box as well.
Oh, this was quite funny though. They ask if the spirit is attached, the spirit that is attached, if it is a demon, and they're like, you need to identify yourself. And the voice comes through saying like, shut up. Like it had the attitude like a child. It sounded like a child, but it had that attitude like, shut up. It's so funny. Yeah. So then Dave says to Steve they should maybe bring Vicky, his assistant, in. Vicky literally just walks into the room and the spirit box says, woman.
Oh.
And then she's like, yeah, I'm a woman. And then the voice box says, hi there.
Well, how you doing?
And then... And then she says to the doll, we want to know who you are. You want to tell us your name? And the voice says, come see. Which is so gross.
No, I don't want to see.
Then Dave is standing there holding his camera and stuff, and he asks Steve if he just touched him because it feels like something tickled his leg.
Oh, no.
And so then Steve asks, or one of them asks, so who just touched Dave? And the spirit box says, Hope did.
Oh, no, Hope, not again. Not again.
So then Vicky leaves the room because she's like, I'm going to pass out. Ryan is like, I've got some pressure on my head. Dave is feeling physical things. They're all just like starting to feel this horrible energy. So then they ended this voice box session and they were talking about what happened. I think Ryan went downstairs to fetch something and they showed a piece of video that obviously they found later on where there's like a light that sort of travels across the wall behind where Steve is sitting. Okay. So it's like you just see like the light on the wall move across. Yeah. And they said like there's a window but there's a big abandoned building sort of behind there. So there's no like cars that would go past there. Yeah. And after they saw that light travel, you hear a female laugh in the room with them. Mm-hmm. So like not in the voice box, not on the cameras, like in the room with them, they heard the voice. So then Steve gets locked into the room alone with Hope and everyone else leaves the house. I don't know. But then nothing happens. The only thing that happens is that Steve hears footsteps walking outside of the closed and locked door.
That's enough.
But everyone is outside in front of the house. They have it on video that they are outside while he's in there.
That is enough.
Like they vlog
to
everything.
Make me run away screaming. So then they do another session where they are now going to put the doll back into her case. And then once again a voice comes through the spirit box and says Hope. And then later a voice comes through and says Steve. And then it says Hope again. And then Dave hears someone laughing in the room. And then Ryan asks, who keeps laughing? And the voice box says, me. Oh. Oh my word.
And I just love how this thing is just like having conversation with them.
Yeah.
So then Steve's like, okay, no, we are going to put you back in your case now. And if the spirit box says, don't. Then as they're putting it back in, the voice says, no. And then Ryan says, okay, the case is shut now. And a voice comes through and it sounds like it says, fuck. Like it's,
fuck.
I'm so frustrated. Yeah. It's like, no, you weren't supposed to put it back. And then again, the spirit box says Steve, then Hope, and then Dave. So it's very clearly naming people that are in the room.
Yeah.
And people that it knows,
and it's
you know? Yeah. So then Dave, once this thing is in this cage, it's in its case, and they're standing there, then Dave says, there's a cross on that wall behind your case. Does that upset you? And the spirit box responds, yes.
Oh, well.
And then...
That's nice.
And then Dave says, why don't you guys try to knock it off? If it upsets you that much, knock it off. And then a voice says...
Antagonize it.
It says follow Steve. So I don't know if it's like, if that means follow his rules. Like Steve put the cross up there. But I mean, why would a demon follow someone's rules, you know? Like,
yeah.
I don't know, that's just what came to my mind.
Follow Steve straight to hell.
I'm awkward. Then Steve is like, who is your allegiance to? And this voice box says, Annie. And I was like, that's really weird. What the hell? And then they show that there is a portrait of a woman named Annie downstairs from where they are. So the floor below them, there is a Victorian, like a painting of this woman named Annie, and that's apparently a haunted thing. So who knows what's in there that this thing is now saying it has allegiance to. How does a doll on the second floor that just got there know that there's this Annie person picture downstairs?
Yeah, that's weird.
Okay.
That's very strange.
And then Ryan, that is weird. Then Ryan feels tingling, like a touch on his arm, and then the spirit box says, get out. So they say, they're going to shut off the spirit box now. Can the spirit say, can you guys say bye? And it says, sure. So Ryan says, can you say goodbye? And it says, bye. I just love how sassy this ghost is, or this demon or whatever. It's like so sassy.
I don't
So
like
that's where the first episode ends. So now we're going on to episode 2. So this is the next part of the investigation. This is October 2021. So very recent.
Very recent, yeah.
Yeah, so Steve was telling them about a woman and a daughter who came to the museum. So the daughter was in this room. He calls it the dark room where this Hope doll is. But there's like the 666 Bible, which is like this whole episode on that on the show as well. It's like all of the worst items, like the things he feels has the worst energy is in this room that he calls the dark room.
Why would you
Which I don't know if that's a good idea.
In one room?
Exactly. I was just going to say, like, spread it out and, like, put the good vibes
that you can around it. Jeez Louise.
Yes. So, this girl, well, I say girl, the woman's daughter, I don't know how old she was, but she was sitting in this room. She was sitting on the floor in front of Hope's, like, case. And she was just trying to talk to Hope. And she left the room and she had scratches on her back. And they show this in the video as well, a picture of it. It's like a lot of scratches. Not just like 3. It's like a few times like down her back. And it's red and it's raised.
Oh, wow.
So the group of them, while they're discussing this, they're standing downstairs talking about Hope. And they hear a sound coming from upstairs from the room where Hope is.
Oh.
So then Steve is like, okay, we're going to... Well, he takes her out of the case again, and as he's doing that, he starts to feel dizzy.
Steve! I hate Steve.
But it was more quiet this time. They tried for a while to get activity and to get her to speak, but they got out the spirit box, and as soon as they got the spirit box out, immediately the words goodbye came out, which I don't know.
Leave her alone.
So then Steve is there, he's asking, is this Hope? And a voice comes through and it sounds like it says, I can feel her.
No.
And then another word says, whores.
Whores?
Whores.
As in...
Because Ryan's like, yeah.
W-H. Oh my word.
Yes. Because Ryan's like, did that just say whores? Oh, this is what made me convinced that this is a demon. Because Steve says, Hope, in the name of Jesus Christ, tell me your name now. And the spirit box answers, we are 6.
Oh, I don't like that.
It's almost like that we are legion or whatever. It's like more than one entity.
Yes.
It's like a group of demons. That's what I got from that. And I think Steve thought the exact same thing because he kind of Freudian slipped. Is that the way you say that? Later on, he said he wanted to say, tell us your name. Like he was going to say Legion. And I was like, I see you, bro. So they try to get the doll to say its, or this entity to say its name, but instead words like thank you, words like thank you and here come through. So they're like, what is happening? So then Dave, he first went into the closets. It's like this little, like 1-by-1 room off to the side. He like opened the door. There's apparently a mirror in there from another haunted place that I think they investigated. So they thought for a while now that this might be a portal. So he was trying to ask questions in there. He comes out again.
Why?
Then,
I hate
so he comes back
Steve now.
So he comes into the room back where Hope is, where everyone is, and that's when he like puts a spirit box in this doll's face, and the spirit box says, "You called me," and Dave,
oh gosh,
he's got the spirit box in her face, and he's like, "Does this make you mad? Is it too loud?" And then the voice from the spirit box says, "Eyes on you," and in front of me.
Oh no, Dave, you need to stop your shit.
Then Dave says he's going to ask a series of questions. So he is using his phone's flashlight. He's trying to show his arms, like he's showing his fellow investigators. He's like, "There's nothing on here." He says later, like, the reason he was showing was that you can, because usually in investigations you only see the after, you don't really see that someone's skin was clear, there was nothing on it. So he wanted them to see his skin. And as he's showing them, he like freezes and he stops, and his right hand is up and he's got the phone on it, and he's like, "Look at my hand." And they switch from the night vision to normal camera, and he's got 3 scratches on his hand.
No.
And it's the same hand that was holding the spirit box up to the doll's face.
Why would you antagonize something like that? Even if I don't necessarily believe in something, which I think I'm very much in the middle. I do believe, but I think a lot of quote unquote investigations are fabricated, but I still wouldn't fucking risk something like that by antagonizing something that could or could not be there. I wouldn't no, thank you. You don't know what you're inviting into your life at the end of the day.
Exactly. So then Dave later says he doesn't know what it is about the energy coming off of the doll, but it makes him feel mad and irritable, and like he just wants to get in its face and scream at it. And Steve says that he has dreams of doing that.
Maybe because it's how it gets energy from you.
Yeah. And then I thought, when I heard that, I was like, so this guy has way more self-control than Zach Bagans, because when Zach feels that energy, he feeds into it immediately and makes it a whole drama, which is why I think that these people are a ton more credible. Okay. It's, he's like, I feel this way, but I'm not giving into it. Like, I'm not doing this for the likes or the views or like the fame or whatever. Like, I really want to punch this doll in the face, but I'm keeping calm. And then Ryan says to the doll that he told Steve that he should do a blessing there every week. And he asks the doll how it would feel, and a voice comes through the spirit box saying, "No."
Then I think you should really do it.
Yeah. So then they end off the investigation by putting Hope back in her box. They hear 2 knocking noises off of something in the room. So then Steve, like I said, he's ordained. He does a blessing on the case and the doll. He closes it, he puts it in the case, and he sort of leans onto the case, and he stands there and he sort of prays silently in his head. But he then comes back and he says to them, like, "That was so difficult. Like, it was so hard to pray. My mind, like, almost like his mind felt jumbled, like he couldn't put words together. Like, he's like, even though I was doing that silently in my head, it felt so difficult," which I've heard happening on, like, demon and, like, exorcisms and things like that, where, like, you feel very, like, discombobulated, you like confused, can't put sentences together. Like you can't say a prayer or whatever. So then it ends with Dave felt something touching him after Steve did this prayer, almost like something running its finger up his leg.
Oh, gross.
So
that is disgusting.
So that was the Hope doll. They've only done those 2 investigations on her. I don't know if they're maybe going to do another in future. She is in the museum, the Archive of the Afterlife, and I think it's in West Virginia, America. Paranormal Quest. They have a lot of episodes, and they do, I think, a really good job.
And it's on YouTube.
Yes. Because, like, I watch things on YouTube that's got to do with ghosts, and it's like, seriously, could you have tried any, like, less hard to fake that? Like, that's so poorly done, or, like, you're not even trying at this point. Like, you're just really trying to get, like, the clickbait and the views and stuff. Mm. But, like, you can see they actually care about what they're doing. Okay. They actually, like, seem to care, Because, I mean, I watch Ghost Adventures, but it's when I want to watch something, like, it's spooky, but it's not, because I know it's mostly fake. It's just fun to watch them. And also Zach.
Fun to laugh.
Zach is great and Aaron's great. So, yeah. But like this, I watch and I'm like, I would actually want to go ghost hunting with these dudes because they actually take this seriously and they try to be respectful, It was just really interesting to see it. So you need to watch it, Chanelle. It's really great.
I can't guarantee that I will.
Yeah, because
I
then you
don't
can see
freak
the
myself out
scratches.
too much. Even though I'm quite in the middle, I know if I watch things like that, I am going to freak myself out and I'm going to be scared to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night or fall asleep
that's me
alone.
anyway.
Or,
Yeah.
I'm going to live my life
I
in
have
fear.
psyched myself out. Yeah, me. Yeah, I hate washing my face.
Yes.
If I wash my face in the bathroom, I have to have the cupboard open because if I stand up and I see someone in the mirror behind me, I'm literally going to die. That is my biggest fear.
Or when you wash your face in the shower and you feel like there's someone standing right there.
Yes. Oh, that is the worst. I do it as quickly as I can. And also, like, the way I'll tap, like, it's like a flat sort of one of those twisty ones where it's one for the cold and the hot. So there's quite a big surface area of like reflective metal. Okay. So I try not to look in that. I like wait for it to steam up so I don't see any reflections because I'm like, I hope there's nothing behind me.
Luckily, I have
which
to
is
take
so
my
stupid
glasses off when I shower, so I can't see because I'm blind. I was thinking about that the other day. Thank God I am this blind when I take my glasses off, because at night, if I wake up and there's a ghost standing in my room, I probably fucking won't see it because I can't see that far. It would have to be pretty like close to my face for me to be able to see it, which is also very scary.
That is so funny. Yeah, because then it's like, okay, old hag, get away from me.
Leave me alone. We'll be here every Sunday.
You're not getting rid of us. That there's regular listeners just blows my mind. Like, thank you.
Me too. Thank you so much for your support and listening to us ramble. If you have any, I don't know, I almost said concerns. I'm sure you have a lot of concerns for our well-being. If you have any requests or any feedback, you can email us or
listener stories.
Or listener stories, yes. You can email us at info@lawnomen.com. We have social media. We have an Instagram at lawnomen, the same as Facebook. We apparently have a Twitter.
And we have a
and
TikTok.
A Reddit. And
yes. I just make these accounts and I haven't posted anything. If you use Podchaser, you can leave us a rating and leave your comments about the episodes or the podcast. Wherever you can leave us a rating, please do so.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear your feedback. We'd love to just hear from you, any of your inputs. Yeah.
Anything you want to hear or don't want to hear.
Oh, I think it was on Facebook, I saw Nicole Engelbrecht posted that she was number 1 of the Apple True Crime charts in South Africa. So congratulations to her. That's cool.
Congratulations. Yeah, that's very cool. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Did you see the scientists' climate strike that they're having?
No.
Yeah, so there was there's a big strike going on where scientists are striking against the fossil fuel industry and have literally gotten together in the UK and stuff, and they were throwing water balloons filled with oil at the buildings, at the oil company buildings. And yeah, basically if we don't get our shit together in 5 years, we're gonna do irreparable damage to the earth. And basically the governments have said that they're aiming to reduce fossil fuel or completely nullify the fossil fuel industry by 2050, but they've just signed contracts to start drilling at 41 different locations for oil.
What?
And I don't know what to call it. The organization, I guess the best word, is called Extinction Rebellion. And it's basically a global website. You can go on it, and on the front it basically just says, "This is an emergency. Life on Earth is in crisis. Our climate is changing faster than scientists predicted, and the stakes are high. Biodiversity loss, crop failure, social and ecological collapse, mass extinction. We are running out of time, and our governments have failed to act. Extinction Rebellion was formed to fix this. So I would definitely recommend checking them out as well.
I saw in the news recently, but like because of the Ukraine conflict, well, Russia's war against Ukraine, it has triggered a quote global and systemic emergency across the food, energy, and the financial sectors. That was UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and like about 4.5 million people across Sudan, Nigeria, and Kenya are already or soon will be facing emergency levels of hunger. And they also, the CERF, I don't know, they're doing funding to boost response in Ethiopia, who has their worst droughts in recent history. So like if you look at these places that have droughts and the food shortages, because now with the conflicts and stuff, you can't move food across. Like, so many people are going to die because like the climate, like the world cannot sustain like normal farming anymore. Food can't grow. The one report I saw, there's just livestock, just as far as I could see, just dead. Like, because there's nothing to drink, there's nothing to eat. It's so sad.
People at the very top who are just getting rich from these fossil fuels are literally killing people in an attempt to get more money and power.
Yeah.
And animals,
And what's the
or killing the planet.
Yes. And what's the point of having all the resources in the world if there's nothing left at the end of it? That ended on a real bummer.
I know. I'm sorry, but I had to. That's what I wanted to say in the beginning as well, because I remember seeing it this week, in the beginning of this week, and I thought, oh, I must talk about this.
Well, thanks for listening to Law and Omen.
Sorry for the bummer. Yeah. Love
Just
you,
go watch Paranormal Quest and you'll feel better. Bye.
Yes. Go watch Paranormal Quest.